When we fear the Third World War, we often imagine it as a global battlefield filled with tanks and nuclear explosions. But in the times when artificial intelligence systems write text and draw paintings sometimes better than we do, maybe we should be more long-sighted. What if it is already happening, but in the global cyberspace? Don't send me links to good Russian YouTubers. Many of them are tools of soft Russian propaganda, and others are often cowards who change countries instead of changing their own countries. Ignore the trolls even on my channel, or if you wish you can play with them, but don't let yourself get angry. Always check and doubt. Russia is at war with all democratic world, not just Ukraine. And war is not always about tanks and missiles, gun machines and explosions. Sometimes it is about hackers' attacks that can destroy the whole infrastructure of a country miles away from Russia, or about factories of trolls that manipulate and distort reality. And yes, good Russian vloggers who don't name war are also a part of Russian armed forces. Let's have a closer look at Russian crimes in the cyberspace. Russian war against Ukraine began in 2014, directly after the Revolution of Dignity, which demonstrated that all Ukrainians see themselves in European Union and not in Ruski Mir. And Russia started attacking us both on the territory and also in cyberspace. The first big and successful cyber attack on Ukrainian infrastructure took place on the 23rd of December 2015. The actions of Russian hackers led to serious damage of Ukrainian energetic system, and many people stayed without electricity. It is now that we know how to survive pretty well and sometimes even enjoy days and nights in the darkness, but then it was a huge disaster. In June 2017, another virus attacked Ukrainian computing systems, and that virus was named Petya in honor of then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. Petya virus caused serious malfunctions in the banking system, computing systems, energetic systems of Ukraine. Kyiv airport and underground had to stop, and it even caused problems in the system of radiation control in Chernobyl atomic power plant. Orcs don't care if it is dangerous, not only for Ukraine but for the rest of the world. And they, of course, decided to congratulate us this way with the Day of Constitution of Ukraine, because the attack was close in time to the 28th of June. Russians do not always take the responsibility for all the attacks, but it's pretty easy to trace them back. What is also important, in the majority of cases, all initiatives are not user-generated, hacker-generated, but supported and funded by Russian governmental programs, and CIA proves it with the reports. In Ukraine, we don't have other choice but to develop our digital infrastructure and cybersecurity, and you have to keep that in mind too. Because hackers' initiatives are not free initiatives in Russia, they are state-funded working groups, and there are many of them you can read articles about. For example, one of the groups known as Cozy Bear or some other names are available online, and they are a Russian espionage hacker group that takes close look at various military, commercial, governmental organizations all over the world. What is also important, the US federal government classified them as advanced and persistent threat. They have targeted various governmental and military projects in the United States, Germany, Uzbekistan, South Korea, and even the White House and the US State Department suffered from their actions. The group operates since mid-2000s and pays specific attention to military and security projects in NATO countries. Fancy Bear is responsible for a number of attacks on the Parliament of Germany, the Norwegian Parliament, TV station in France, NATO and EU organizations, and even the campaign of the French President Emmanuel Macron. I wonder why he speaks to Putin for hours after that. In 2007, straight after the diplomatic conflict with Russia about the Soviet memorial in Estonia, the country was targeted by Russian hackers. Its governmental communication and banking system were in total collapse. Russians were also responsible for the Emmanuel Macron email links during his presidential campaign. In 2008, Georgia suffered from serious hackers' Russian attacks. The site of the then President Mikhail Saakashvili was down, but also the site of the government and many important banking services. And by the way, it was for the first time in the global history that cyber attack on the country coincided with open military attack on the country too. The European Commission also confirmed that Russian hackers tried to steal files from the German parliament and to intrude into the election campaign inside Germany. Russians do not know what democratic elections are, and that's why they hate when other countries have this opportunity. Trying to spoil the democratic process of elections is one of the favorite spheres of work of Russian hackers. We know that in Ukraine very well, but you also know it in France and the United States, I'm sure, as many scandals were connected with Russian cyber activism during the elections in these countries. Another example is Romania, that was under serious hackers' attacks at the beginning of 2022 and Russian war in Ukraine, when the country said they will supply us with weapons. In 2019, Poland discovered a huge disinformation campaign held on Facebook by Russian activists. The page had 4.5 million subscribers and spread pro-Russian ideas and supported pro-Russian politicians totally artificially. Today, various social media platforms are a real battlefield, and Russian trolls know how to exhumate old conflicts, return them back on the conversation boards of allies, and try to separate us. We have to be very, very careful with that. A lie repeated 1,000 times becomes a truth, said once Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels. He also said, "Give me media and I will turn any country into a herd of pigs." Putin, a true follower of Nazi ideology, applies this strategy to his own country. Russia loved propaganda and lived on it for centuries, starting from the times of empire through Soviet Union and up to modern times. Brainwashed and passive, Russian society cannot produce high-quality user-generated content that is so valued in modern world. And to spread Ruski Mir ideas, Russia needs this kind of content. And it spends billions of dollars on various troll factories that help to generate the content and imitate huge support of Vladimir Putin or war in Ukraine. Perhaps a profession of a troll can be one of the best paid and successful in modern-day Russia. This is a true phenomenon that is difficult to imagine in any healthy and democratic society. Russian troll factories, also known as trolls from Olgino, named after a district in St. Petersburg, is a very interesting cultural or actually anti-cultural phenomenon. They are connected to a Russian oligarch Prigozhin, who is by coincidence the leader of the Wagner Group, now fighting fiercely for Ruski Mir in Bakhmut and losing also fiercely. He spends his money on these troll factories together with other Russian oligarchs and politicians to shape the opinion inside and outside Russia that is needed for Kremlin. In 2015, more than 1,000 people worked in office in St. Petersburg. They had technical tasks that are not difficult to fulfill, received their salaries, of course, in envelopes because the majority of things are illegal in Russia, especially earning money, and tried to shape public opinion. So, troll is actually a profession in Russia. Orc is also a profession in Russia. What are the typical topics that Russian troll factories work on? Well, first of all, they criticize Russian opposition and Navalny. Of course, they also condemn and criticize Ukraine and the United States and always support Russian war in Ukraine. And they praise Vladimir Putin and traditional deputies of Russia as the only possible rulers of the country and spread the ideas of Ruski Mir. One of the former workers of the troll factory actually said that she felt as if living in 1984, written by George Orwell. We have to say black when you see white, and on country name peace, war, and war, peace. But anyway, it is a Russian choice and the phenomenon of modern Russian culture. It may seem funny, but actually these troll factories are very dangerous because they operate not only inside Russia, brainwashing already brainwashed people, but they try to interfere into the public opinion of other countries, and that may be dangerous. They are well aware of different problems that exist inside their societies, historical conflicts that had place between allies, and they try to provoke misunderstandings. For example, in 2014, right after the start of Russian war against Ukraine, they were actively commenting various articles in Politico, New York Times, trying to change the opinion of the world. And some newspapers even said it was very difficult for them to control the uncontrollable flow of comments from Russian subscribers, and not only. Russian trolls can use VPN and work from different locations. Sometimes they have bad English and sometimes they have good English, but what they do, they try to change, to reshape the opinion you have about a political situation or conflict that is needed for Kremlin. And that is very dangerous because we do not always analyze what we read in comments, and we may believe that this is a true opinion, not the paid one. And trolls earn salaries much better than Russian teachers or doctors. Today we all know how important cyberspace is. We work there, we date there, we have hobbies that are connected with online activities. But we also fight there. And Russia knows it and does it better than many other armies of the world. So we have to be careful because it may be that the Third World War will take place in the cyberspace, or maybe it has already started. And subscribe to my channel, Anna from Ukraine, because if there are trolls and orcs, there should also be fairies and elves like me.